The silent gift given to me. Gifts come in many different forms. My first memory of gifts were a warm meal next to a fire, someone who listened to me, kept me warm and safe, who shared my passions and who adored me for who I am. Gifts are not always the things that cost anything, but are the people and the time they spend with you. My biggest gift was my gran. She had special gifts, something that's still not really encouraged to be talked about, only at times of need, a silent gift. These gifts were born down to her through her heritage. Our family were born on a road, in a van along the way, and these gifts were passed on to me. These come from hundreds of years of horse dealing, hawking and hunting. My gran was also encompassed in a cobweb of kind-hearted gestures to anyone in need. It was in her genes to understand the ways of healing, and that when someone falls down, you don't just walk on by. You put out a hand and pull them up and dust them off, so they can set off on their life journey again. A lady in appearance, no one outshone her. A secret rebel that no one knew but her kin. Only reborn to one and all at her funeral, as told in a chronicle written by my father to a congregation of family and friends. These secrets were consumed by a church that brimmed over with the hearts of my gran touch through her life. Laughter echoed and caressed the walls of my gran's church as my father told them that. My grandfather sat fishing with my dad next to Pewsey Wharf Bridge. A motorbike could be heard roaring up towards the bridge, going towards Marlborough. It did not slow down. All my grandfather said they saw were two wheels of a bike with a young couple in the air above the bridge walls. My grandfather told my gran at supper about these crazy people speeding on a bike who jumped the bridge, and my gran then informed him it was her and her oldest son speeding to Marlborough for one of my gran many charity club meetings. Also, my gran was a feisty boxer. She had a reputation in her village as a no-nonsense kind of girl. Anyone over friendly when courting her smarted a black eye instead of a throbbing heart. No one walked over my gran. She might have only been 5'2", but she had a temper of a raging bull when in full flight. One of my gran's neighbours thought it was fun to gossip about my gran. The gossip spreader came out of her cottage one day, which faced the road, and came over to my gran and her friend, who was stood talking. My gran confronted the gossip spreader in the street. She punched her so hard she flew across the single-track road and straight back through her open front door. No one messed with my gran. Some of my adventures with my gran were simple, but a little wild. We travelled back from Hungerford after a visit to a dog rescue home one day. The rain was like a tidal wave, everywhere was flooded. The road filled up with deserted, flooded cars. I was shaking with fear that we would be next. My gran had no fear. She was rippling with excitement and suggested we leave the road and mount the wide verge and pavement. Who needed a road? The weather brewed like tea leaves stirred up in a teapot, but my gran had no fear as her smile grew wider and wider as we drove along on the pavement in a battered old Fiesta, while Mercedes and more modern cars gurgled in the stream which was once the road. I have unwrapped all the gifts I was given by my gran, and now are wrapping them to give to my own children. All my memories of gifts were jewelled and colourful, like big rainbows through my life. I have walked many different parts of life with my gran, and still do. But the best memories I caress next to my heart and soul is the person who gave me all these gifts, my gran.